everybody needs to feel a sense of purpose. Like you are here and it's verified. It's verified. Your spirit verifies it. This is exactly what I'm here for. And the only time that's happened is when I can see a scenario where I'm serving. And service happens everywhere. If you can figure out that your actions are serving someone or something, and it happens to align with your values, then you're really exactly where you need to be at. And I believe that being of service has unlocked, without a doubt, the best version of me also. It puts everything in alignment.
Welcome to the On the Path podcast, a conversation on navigating life. Join Chris Coker and Colin Creech as they have honest conversations with fellow travelers on the path. In each episode, they explore the physical, mental, and spiritual health aspects of the whole self, striving for personal accountability and a strong community. Gain insights, learn from our mistakes, and hear from guests who have mastered these areas. Step on the path, embracing every challenge and success along the way. See you on the path.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of On the Path podcast. This week's guest, we're very excited to bring to you. His name is Eric Ballester. He's a veteran, prior service Air Force combat controller with several deployments under his belt. Throughout his career in the Air Force, he was able to attain the highest levels of the special operations community. So really, truly an incredible individual and an all-around great guy. So we're excited to bring him here today.
The most beautiful thing that I know we appreciate is seeing that growth and life of service after service in the military. And he has an MBA from the University of Arizona. He's married with kids. He's very much a family man, which we hear more about today, but also an American Ninja Warrior competitor, definitely a fitness enthusiast, but something we absolutely had to make sure was called out on this is he has a mustache and is a man-mane aficionado, which is a super accurate way to characterize the appearances of Eric Ballester. But there's so much more there. He's a founder, he's an entrepreneur, and he's a community builder as well.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And currently, he's the executive director of the Rick Harma Foundation, which is an organization dedicated to enriching the lives of military families and veterans through retreat-like environments, relaxation, wellness, community building, and recreational activities. So if you could say one thing about Eric Ballester, it is that he has lived his life in service to others. So we are very excited to bring this episode to you. And I believe, Colin, this is a first for us here on the Path podcast. So is this our first explicit episode?
I believe it is, but we could be wrong. But I think also that's to say, yes, there is some language, but this is a very much a genuine podcast. Eric's being genuine. He's an incredible human, but we also know sometimes our vocabulary from the military, I think I maybe use some language myself is colorful, but it's just, a very genuine conversation with an amazing human who's continuing to give back to his community after service, and excited to hear more coming up here next on the Path podcast.
That's right. Let's get into it.
It is great to be back on the podcast, but I have to also say, Eric, it is an honor to have you on here. We met just over a year ago now, and I was impressed the moment I met you, not just because of your hair and your awesome mustache at the time, which is now a beard, but in all honesty, you're just an awesome human. So it's great to have you on.
Yeah. Thanks for those kind words. And this hair is something that I'm very proud of. It's a lot of power behind this thing.
Don't change. So you know how we started off now. There's not a mystery anymore. We always start with an icebreaker question. And we are very excited about this one. Okay.
I think I'm ready.
For you, would you rather talk like Yoda or breathe like Darth Vader for the rest of your life?
This is the most important thing anybody's asked me in a long time.
It's probably true. That
might be true.
I think it's got to be Vader. It's got to be Vader. There's an over presence of power with that. it's easily understood. I think Yoda, you look at him and be like, I could totally take that guy.
Yeah, but not to try.
Even the way he sounds.
I mean, I just want to say though, but think about it. If you're on this podcast, when you're not talking, we just hear this mouth breathing Darth Vader noise. And then you're in bed at night. Your whole family just hears throughout the house that very ominous noise. A labored breathing. You can control talking. So I want you to think, Chris, I mean, help me pressure test this.
What does
I'm not
Vader
sure he's
sound like after an intense run? What does his breathing sound like then?
Either way, I hear your point, Colin. I'm practicing the art of silence. Like I'm trying to perfect that. And I think there's something really profound about some aggressive breathing, mouth breathing that kind of commands like authority. You could tell that's a mean, dominant, heavy labored mouth breathing person.
Colin, will you please try that in your next business meeting, Colin? Please try that. Just breathe heavily. Say nothing.
Are you okay, sir? Are you okay?
Just stare. Are you okay? Why are you asking me? Well, I mean, if that's the way you want to go, then we'll have to. It's your answer. It's a safe answer, though, Eric, because I really wanted to hear you do a Yoda impersonation. That's all I want.
Almost got me. That's a good one, though.
Almost. All right, let's dive in. So Eric, everybody had the chance to hear about your bio, so they know kind of the professional, output that you've had so far in your career. One of the questions that we love to kick off with is, what is an experience that shaped you? Because I think it gives us so many different threads that we can pull on, because obviously somebody with your pedigree, the things that you've done, you've had a ton of meaningful experiences in your life. So if you had to pick one in this moment, what's the one that comes to mind, an experience that shaped you?
I think in this season of life that I'm in now, in this chapter, I believe that it was the pressure, something that gave me insight into how I responded during a heightened state of stress or pressure, and really getting a look at when everything is elevated, everything is at its craziest state, that I have a predictable response to it. And I think it's the first time that I got to look at it was in combat. I think is such an important and informative experience for me. It was having everything happening all at the same time. There's people getting shot. Your friends are getting shot. People are looking to you to do something to change everything that's happening. And then just reaching this heightened state of just pure chaos and automatic nervous system, takes over and you start doing whatever it is you're wired for, whatever it is that you're meant, however you're designed. So it would be combat. It would be Afghanistan. It was 2009 was the first time just reaching that state of overwhelming amount of stress and not recognizing it definitely in that situation, but not understanding what was going on, but being able to reflect on it after the fact and seeing that the heightened state of calm and the most clear focus and the highest performance in solving a problem. Yeah, for sure. That's a staple in my life that it makes everything a little bit easier knowing that that's a predictable response that maybe you can expect. There's no guarantee, but there is a little bit of reassurance there to say, okay, under these circumstances, I can produce an effect that gets to something, an 80% positive, reaction or a positive solution.
Did you have that call to service at a young age? Did you know you were going to be in the military?
I did not. I didn't. It wasn't presented to me until I had to make a decision to where I had to either get the fuck out of the house or go do something and go embrace, what is it? I think it's the accepting the burden, accepted the burden of life. It was forced upon me. It's like, make a decision, but it's going to be your decision, and you need to be the person that's, that's providing, that providing for yourself. So yeah, it was, my whole family served. So I think it was always written in the cards. I come from, my grandfather served, my father served, my brother served. So I didn't see it, but it was, high school, after graduating high school, 6 months later, need to do something. It ain't going to be in this house though.
I will always wonder with that too, because we know that for every man, there's always that thought in the back of their head, do I have what it takes? Not necessarily just in the military and combat, but in so many different aspects of life. I want to know in some ways that I can do what I hope I can do. Was there concern prior to that situation that you may not be able to live up to that? And you have that added pressure of my whole family served. They already know all these things, but do I have what it takes? Can I live into this expectation for myself and for those that have already gone before me?
Shit, I still think that, Colin. Yeah, I think that's what I'm aware of now, is that never goes away. It's like the unknown is just lurking there. It's sitting in the background, and there is something positive to it. I recognize that, but absolutely, I felt that before I went into the service, during my time in the service. And I was able to leverage that in order to become better, to continuously develop, because you're always worried. I know you guys feel this one. You're always worried about letting the person down to the left and right. Like, that is the driver. And it's, you take that into your personal life too. You're worried about failing your family. You're worried about failing, your name, the sacrifices that your family has made, your grandparents. Yeah, that hasn't gone away. And I'm trying to figure out how to put that in a place in my life now where I could still benefit from it, but it's not the driver. It's not the only driver. Because that was the only driver for performance. It's like, just don't fuck up. Don't fail. Don't be the point of failure here. That's the non-negotiable enough to make it to where I would rather have my life extinguished than to be the person that ends up fucking up.
I think that's such an important question that you asked too, because you've had this life of service, and then the transition out of the military, a career in the military is never easy. And you continue to serve after the military, but maybe it's a two-part question. I'd love to know, how is navigating that transition? And did you know getting out that you wanted to continue to serve in the nonprofit space?
Navigating transition is something that I heard so many times from other people that were getting out. They're like, you don't get it. You don't understand all the things that are going to be presented to you. I'm like, I got it. It's not going to be any harder than going through, a 2-year pipeline to become a combat controller. It's not going to be harder than combat, but it's so much harder than anything that I experienced while I served, the transition out of the military. It was absolutely a roller coaster of unpacking things and then dealing with the unknown. The unknown is a monster. That was something that was whooping my ass before I got out. And my decision point to get out was forced upon me. It was forced upon me at 17 years in the service. It was, and I call that a blessing. I think it was a blessing that I was taken off team. So I was operational my whole career, and I was taken off team at 17 years to go become an OTC instructor. And that's not how I viewed my service. So it's like, that is by design. It happened that way, and it needed to, or else I don't think I would have been able to force the hand to put me in a position to say, okay, let me stop thinking that the only way to serve is to be in the trenches or moving towards the trenches. So The most difficult thing that I had to deal with was leaving the service and then actually confronting the things that I had been compartmentalizing and disassociating. So I still battle with it. I still am working my ass off to fully integrate and not just like, oh, I'm going to keep that one tucked away. That really dark ass shit, I'm going to keep it tucked away. It doesn't need to come out.
That's a good point. Yeah. Nothing. It'll never rear its ugly head if you keep it just stuffed down there. Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah. Good plan. I like that plan.
But yeah, I think that you asked, what was the deciding factor for you to leave the service? And then how did transition out of the military go from you? Is that what,
and then did you choose a life of continued service?
Continued service didn't pop up until 6 months after I got out of the service. And I think that's a trend too. I think I've heard that before. It's like, give yourself 6 months as you're, stepping into this new chapter for there to be a little bit clearer picture of what it is that what are your interests? It took 6 months and I was yanked back to service again. It was funny. Like, I got out of the military and I'm like, I know what I want to do. I want to create my own business. I'm an entrepreneurial endeavors, and I want to make a boatload of money and create something special, something profound. But I also want to be highly successful in the private sector as an entrepreneur. And I was moving towards that, pursuing my master's degree and then purchasing a franchise and moving out like very aggressively. And then all of a sudden, like, service is just like creeping in. It's like slowly creeping into the picture in the form of going back into the trenches to get my buddies out, like the guys that are leaving the service and they're experiencing all the unknowns that I was going through and all the struggles. I went back for them to tell them, hey, look at all this stuff that's available to you. Like, look at all the health and healing options that are there for you. Look at all the resources for higher education, getting new skills. I went back for them because I didn't want them to feel like they needed to go back to contracting. And that's when it really highlighted itself to me. It's like, holy shit, this is way more important to serve those people who I love in this very important transition form. That is so much more important than what I was thinking about, being really good in the private sector. It's like, and starting your own business. It's like, that's cool. That would be cool to still be able to do that, but serving is so much more important than that. It's the reason that we're here. So yeah, I was yanked back to service. 6 months it started. And then after a year, it was unquestionable. It's like, okay, this is it. Now, how do you actually make a living doing this? So that's the one that's a little bit harder to figure out.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said too, Eric, around, you need 6 months. I think you're right. Like, over under, I guess it's different for everybody, but over under, you need time to figure out what you want. And if I can take it a step deeper, I would say figure out what you need, right? Like, as a transitioning veteran, I think, like, to hear you unpack this one a little bit more, but what I'm hearing you say is that you needed it. Like, you had to go back to this position of service, not just to help others, but it was also a way to help you kind of blossom into the post-military Eric that you were meant to be. And so I'm curious, I'd love to get kind of your gut reaction to that thought. Like, did you view it that way before? Do you view it that way now, that service is actually something that, and maybe it's not just you, maybe you believe everybody does, but that's more of a need. It's not necessarily something that you want to do, but something that is that important in your life that you must do that in order to help you thrive on your own path?
Yeah, Chris, I do think we need it. I think it for everybody. Everybody needs to feel a sense of purpose. Like, you are here and it's verified. It's verified. Your spirit verifies it. This is exactly what I'm here for. And the only time that's happened is when I can see a scenario where I'm serving. And service happens everywhere. Service happens in the fast food industry. It's like, if you can figure out that your actions are serving someone or something, and it happens to align with your values, then you're really exactly where you need to be at. And I believe that being of service has unlocked, without a doubt, the best version of me also. It puts everything in alignment. Once you're in the space of doing what you do better than anybody else, it is either your skill set or your aptitude or your interest, and it is in service to somebody else, without a doubt, you're in flow mode. You're getting a tap on the shoulder like, yeah, this is it. You're at where you need to be at. I think the first time it happened for me also with being of real service that I was aware of was right when I got taken off of team, which was hilarious. It's like 17 years in the military. I just got taken off of tactical teams. I'm put in charge of somebody who's not an operator. So I got put in charge of a support person who I had no fucking idea like how to professionally develop this person, because they are a real military person. I categorize myself as not a real military person. I'm like, I don't do anything when I'm back in garrison. I'm a piece of shit. Like, all I do is consume.
Do I manage a regular person?
So how am I supposed to add value to this? The guy was switched on, but I really felt I felt like underprepared to do this role. And there was a time when I actually could step in and do something for this man who was dealing with some struggles. It had nothing to do with like the military professional system and professional development, or it had to do with a man who was needing help, and he's vulnerable, and I think the leadership position that I was in, I could step in and actually do something about it. And that right there gave me a little glimpse, and it really set me up to say my relevance isn't just in smashing targets, like killing thousands of shitheads from a deployed location. Although that does make you feel very relevant, I have relevance in another space, and it's to help somebody, to serve somebody in this way by providing counsel or resources or just holding space for that person. It really opened the door to say, I can do something else, and it does energize me. It does empower me. And that was the first time out of my whole 20-year career. It's like, oh, okay, this is awesome. I am useful.
I think there's something so unique too about, why we wanted you on the podcast as well. There's this veteran experience sometime where we think that we're the only one with problems, or we're the only ones that, can have a difficult time in life. While it may be the unique experience that, got us to those places, it's not unique for people in the world, because everybody has problems. Everybody struggles. You don't just have to be a veteran to experience pain, to experience trauma, to experience difficult times. With that though, too, you realize probably in that moment, I'm assuming that, I'm not, I can help somebody else, and it doesn't just have to be somebody that's part of this small tribe that I'm with. Do you think that was a very important moment for you, especially, as you're getting towards the twilight of your military career, about to transition? You have this opportunity in any situation, whether they're the same as you as not, that you can help somebody or influence somebody in a positive way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I like how you phrased that too, Colin. It's like, they're not part of this tribe. You said it perfectly. It's like, we think that we're in this special tribe that like nobody else can ever understand, how amazing this tribe is. Like, okay, that you're full of shit. Everybody has at some point had a group of people that meant as much as what you think is just your own personal experience. And the fact that this person wasn't in that tribe, it wasn't, they used to call him like the made man. You're not a made man. You didn't make it through. Like,
isn't that a mafia term?
It's so stupid. There's so many dumb nuances to it, but I'm judging it. But anyway, the fact that this was somebody who was outside of that, outside of my social circle, outside of my the area of the people that I believe had influence and had relevance and contributed, it was a connection with somebody like that. And it was important. Like, I valued associating with that person and connecting with them and sharing an experience with them to say, I see you and I can hold space for it. And I've been through it before. And let me tell you how I navigated it. And I believe it might help you if you take similar steps. So I think it started, I became more enlightened, I think, with that interaction, and really being able to say that veterans experience is there are so many different layers to it, and it is not black and white. And really, being able to look another veteran in the eyes and say, it doesn't matter that you served for 3 years in the military, and it doesn't matter that you didn't go into combat. That doesn't mean one fucking thing at the end of the day. It doesn't. My experience as a veteran and somebody else's, you can't compare them. And somebody says comparison is a thief of joy. It's like there's nothing valued to sit there and have conversations about, comparing yours and my experience. That being said, if you're being a fucking douchebag and you're trying to talk about how awesome you are because of what branch you were in or that, if that's the conversation that you want to have, I'll beat you up a little bit. I'll beat you up and be like, buddy, you got no fucking idea. Okay. Your National Guard service that you're claiming is better than my active duty service as an Air Force guy, as a Chair Force guy. Let me go ahead and tell you, there's some exceptional things that each person in the military does, but back to it. It's like a shared experience. Everybody's fear is significant to them. Everybody's anxieties and everybody's struggles are just as significant to them as our individual experience. So valuable to really be able to see that and believe it.
I had heard of this analogy once. We all have a cup, right? We want to have a full cup right now. In the context of service, one of the things that's required when you serve is you have to pour a little bit out of that cup, right? Like you literally in an active service, whether it's in the military or some of the work you're in now, Eric, or really anybody out there, if you feel like you're pursuing a life of service, every time you take an action aligned to that, you're pouring a little bit out of your cup. And so I'm curious if you think back to your time in service or even now, like there's always a little bit of you that you're pouring out into these acts of service, but it's important that you keep your own life balanced too, which is not always easy. But how do you do that? How do you make sure that you're in the right headspace and that you are, whether it's physical or mental or with your family, like you have to make sure that you take care of yourself so that you have the ability to serve others. And I'm curious, like, what does that balance look like in your life? And it doesn't have to be perfect, by the way, because it never is for everybody. It's never a perfect balance. I'd love to hear from you on how do you do that? How do you try to pursue balance so that you can continue to serve in a meaningful way for others?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if your cup is full, because you believe like in abundance, like I need abundance here. I need to keep on doing more so I can create more abundance for myself. And you're filling your cup up. You're going to die at some point, with a full cup. That's cool. That you've worked as hard as you've worked and you have all these things to show for it, but you've never done anything with it. It's like you are going to have to do something from the byproduct of all your hard work and all your efforts. So pouring a little bit of that out of your cup, I think is service. I believe that's what that is. And to be able to do that very effectively, you have to continue to invest in yourself, which means that the hardest thing for me, man, and I still haven't cracked this code, is like the boundary establishment and saying, this time is intentionally carved out for me to address my physical, my mental, my social, my spiritual priorities. That is so hard to do, man. But I do know when God finally does present my cross, I don't know that it's happened yet. You better be fucking ready. you better be ready. You better be prepared. You better be strong physically, mentally, spiritually. When you get your cross delivered on you and you have to carry that cross, I hope I've done the preparation to set the foundation for me to be able to shoulder it and shoulder it with some fucking, like, with some grit. Yeah. That guy just got some delivered to him. And look at how he carries it. Look at how I want that for me, and I want that for the people that are looking at me. The people that are looking at me is my son. So it's like, I want my son to see me carry my cross in a way that's like, okay, that's the standard right there.
It's such an important aspect of things too, to have that reflection. And you talked about something that you're working on right now, and it's the me time, the Eric time. What are you doing today what does Eric time look like? How do you recharge?
Yeah. Well, if you heard my microphone on, I know I didn't unmute myself. I had some me time, right before we started this podcast.
Good. Yes, of course.
Yeah. Me time is being, it's really, I still do this, and I've been doing this for a while, is surveying all the behaviors that I have, and surveying the ones that are the positive ones, the ones that serve me in a positive way. Two of those things that stand out to me is daily scripture. So I believe it's, building a relationship with the Holy Spirit, and then also curating my environment and having people. I think you're a perfect example, Colin, having people like you in my environment that says, I'm trying to become a better version of myself. Like, that's what I see in you. And that's so important. So my daily me time is scripture reading. Like, first thing in the morning, it's getting up and getting into scripture and being humble and asking, what is it? What do you have for me today? What is it that I'm supposed to be moving towards? And that's been the best thing for me to actually be able to have peace first thing in the morning. It's like, that's mine. Nobody can take it. It's sacred. So it's bright and early in the morning too. It's at a time frame where you should not be calling me or emailing me, because that's just weird. It's too early to do that. And then jumping in the ice plunge. I think that's something also that's served me very well, and it's me time. So it's like, it's a balance. It's my spiritual me time, and then there is a mental, physical. There's ice plunge is like the fountain of youth, man, and it is everywhere. It's something that is, you're maximizing your time there by like addressing so many different things by putting that in your day too. So those are staples for me.
I can proudly say too that I've had both Chris and Eric in my cold plunge. So this is quite an honor to hear that's part of your.
Yours is ridiculous. Yours is absolutely ridiculous. The only reason that I was able to do it is because you were standing there. It's like, if you were not there, my happy ass would have jumped out of that thing. That was brutal.
Yeah, it was cold. It was so cold. What is it, Colin? What was the temperature in that cold plunge?
Well, thankfully there was a Marine friend of mine that finally said, I think the data is showing it can be probably around here. It doesn't really benefit you after a certain point. And I'm so glad he said that, because my inner dialogue was like, if you change this temperature, you're weak. And I was like, that's a really good point. Like, the date, I should probably be a little more scientific and not as much of a jarhead in this situation. Eric, something you said to Chris that really stuck out to me, and it also then goes to what you were talking about your time, taking care of yourself. But, you don't want your cup to be full when you're being judged at the end of your life, or when you're having to explain everything that's happened, what have I done? Community is so important for you. Can you tell us a little bit about, how you're giving back now with RHF? What brings you joy? What does that look like for you on a daily basis?
Yeah, RHF really does represent, Colin. It does represent pouring some of that, just a lot of it. I think it's a lot that I pour out of my cup for it. but it's so worth it. If I'm going to pour anything out, that is something to really invest in, because I'm pouring my time, my energy, a lot of my everything that I got into an organization. The Rick Harma Foundation really is a community resource. It's a community building resource. So the Rick Harma Foundation helps to empower military families through fun, quality activities that you can create memorable experiences to really empower the military family. And it's the only way to really address the soldier that is coming out of the trenches and needs to be healed. They need a community ready to receive them. They can't do it on their own. They need somebody to help them reintegrate again. It's so important because they deserve it. Veterans, the military service members deserve to integrate and live a full experience with their families, the people that they really are sacrificing for. So community is it, Colin. I believe that. I believe that it takes a community, it takes a tribe, right? You can't do this on your own. And there's got to be third parties out there in the community that are focused on it. There has to be, or else, if that's not happening, then you're leaving it up to the individual or that family to be able to do it on their own. I could probably go and find several other ways to serve, but this is what I'm good at. I am good at recognizing the service member leaving, coming out of the service and knowing what they need and being able to relate with them too, from the mud and not from the mountaintop. I think Mike said that one. I stole it. So really being able to see it and do something about it by creating this safe haven, this retreat center. We have a 50-acre retreat center. It's a park designed for just total relaxation for these service members, that they can go and they know that they are safe here to just be there, be present, and be connected with their families. And then there's some really fun stuff going on at the same time. We got Ninja Warrior that we host there. We have Nerf Wars is actually going on today, right now. Nerf Wars. I got some staff there that have put together the park in a war zone with Nerf guns and 800 people at war with little Nerf guns, just blasting at each other.
You have 800 people participating in this Nerf war?
So we have up to 800 people. It's 600 to 800 people for events like this. Yeah. And I'll send you guys some pictures of it, or you go to RHF now, you can see some of the stills and some of the images from it. It is the coolest thing to see, like dads and their kids and even the moms out there. Like they are in it. They are in it. They are at war, but it's Nerf guns. So that's community building right there, Colin. It's creating a space to say, hey, this is familiar space. I know you're familiar with playing Army because you're in the Army, but also creating an environment where they can do that with their family and they're connected also with the community.
That's awesome. Well, first of all, Eric, I'm so proud of you to have moved into this space where you really are maximizing your capacity. You have found this thing that you're passionate about, but you're also good at. And I think that combo is what changes lives. That's what really, really makes that big difference. So, I mean, even just hearing you talk about the Rick Harma Foundation, you're just like, you're coming alive. Who wouldn't come alive talking about a Nerf war? But you're coming alive. And it's so easy to see your passion. So first and foremost, I'm really proud to know you. I'm proud of what you've done post military, and I'm excited to see what you keep doing. So I'd love to, I know we have to start wrapping up, but I'd love to I appreciate that story with what you're doing now, but where do people want to go if they want to learn more about you, want to learn more about the Rick Harma Foundation, the things that your organization is up to? What's the best way for them to go and look into that a little bit more?
Thank you, Chris, for the compliment. That means a lot what you said too. I don't take that lightly. We got to do that a little bit more as men, compliment each other, like personally, and not just surface layer. What I'm doing is amazing. It's so much fun. There's so many cool things happening with it. If anybody wants to learn more about it, they can learn more on our website or on social media. But our website is www.rhfnow.org. Romeo, Hotel Foxtrot, November, Oscar, Whiskey. Still got it.
That's good.
Or on socials, on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Go check it out. Nerf Wars is going down today. We'll probably have some cool videos. I got a skydive team jumping in there for the national as well. But yeah, if you would love to learn more, that's where you can go. And then we're funded through donations. So the military member and their families they don't pay anything. Military families, military members pay zero for the programs and services that we offer, but we are run by donations. So any donations are greatly appreciated, and that's how we operate. And I hope to take the mission national. That's my role that I'm taking on, is how do we get this to other military families outside of Fort Liberty, North Carolina?
Well, they couldn't have somebody better representing them. I do have to say, I feel like that was a dig at me for the intro when you said surface level compliments. I'm still going to stick with the fact that you have great hair, great beard, previously a mustache. But I will say, what one key takeaway too that, I've learned from you, I hope that I'm getting better at it, is it's okay to ask for help. It doesn't mean you're helpless. And that's where as men, not just because we're veterans, but you don't have all the answers. Chris knows just yesterday I called him and I needed advice. I fought him the entire way, and then I put his advice to work, and it was actually better than what I was planning to do. So I want to say for you,
validating, Eric.
You can put a check mark on your helmet there, Chris. That's a Colin check mark on your helmet.
But that's for you as well, Eric. I know that as a difficult thing, but something you've been doing too, because we all know that we don't have all the answers, and it's so hard to ask for help sometimes. But when you do, it's surprising how easy it can be for somebody to reach out and be there for you when you need them, or have help talk through a situation. So I think that's my not surface level compliment to you, is that you have a good balance of taking action, but also if you need help, you also ask for it. And I know that's not something that comes easy to you. So credit to you, sir, for doing that.
Thank you for that, Colin. Yeah. The way you said that is perfect. Everybody needs help. That doesn't mean you're helpless. It's really, I said it earlier, guys, the message that you're giving to this community, I know you're doing it intentionally, to speak to men and to tell them, to show them. I think you guys do a brilliant job of showing us that it is okay to ask for help, and you guys do it with while still maintaining your masculinity. You show, I think you show people how to access their feminine, but you own your masculine. And I think it's very exceptional what you guys are doing. It's an art. I think you guys are executing your art very well.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. And I'm happy to report, Eric, that we're going to be having you on our private trails, which I know is ominous if you don't know about private trails yet, but I'm happy to report that we're going to have you back time and again, because I think this has been a fantastic conversation. So once again, just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being willing to open up with our listeners, with our viewers, with us, and to just be a leader in the community. And I'm excited to continue to watch you and everything you do. And I'm glad to have you in my life. So with that, Colin, anything else?
I'll see you on the path.
See you on the path.